welcome back to the Around the Bases podcast. This is episode 3. I'm your host, Jaden Harper. So, there's a lot going on around Major League Baseball. There's been about almost 2 weeks since I've done an Around the Bases podcast, and there's a lot to catch up on. But before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss when I upload a podcast. With this podcast, we also have the Phillies fan podcast going on, so we have both podcasts coming out. So make sure to subscribe so you never miss when those come out. So let's start with a week recap. Let's just start with a week recap of what has happened over the last 4 days of Major League Baseball. The biggest one, the Dodgers taking 2 out of the 3 in San Diego. It's the first time these two have met all season long. Both of the teams fighting, jockeying for position. San Diego came into the series with the lead in the division, but the Dodgers are the team that end up finishing this series with the division lead. They now lead by a game and a half. Game 1 went to San Diego, 1-0 win. A great performance on the mound for Michael King. They were able to get a run early against Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So it was a big win for San Diego in Game 1. And Games 2 and 3 were just Dodger baseball at the end of the day. A late inning rally on Tuesday in the ninth against Mason Miller. Alex Call with base running was able to get to third, and then Andy Pages drove in the sacrifice fly to give the Dodgers the win in that game. And then in Game 3, it was the Shohei show, the Otani show, the show, right? Otani was brilliant, and the Dodgers were able to take 2 out of 3. This is a big series, right? When you talk about just positioning. You only play your division rivals 13 times during a season, and every one of those times matter, especially when it's a team that you know you're going to probably face down the stretch, and tiebreakers are going to matter. So for the Dodgers being able to take these 3 games against probably the best team they've been able to beat this season, because they lost a series to the Braves, they lost a series to the Cubs, right? So this is the best team they've been able to beat this season. Winning a series like this is really important to show that, oh yeah, we're still as good as we were these last 2 years. Slow starts happen. We're still, the defending World Series champions. And for the Dodgers, I feel like this was a big statement series. Yamamoto had probably one of his better starts this season. His ERA went down, even though he gave up a run. Otani's ERA has continued to go down over his 6-7 starts throughout this season. And the Dodgers have just been able to continue to become more and more dominant. Andy Pages is having an incredible season. Will Smith is great behind the plate. Mookie Betts is coming back to life. Otani had a couple big hits. Freddie Freeman had some hits. The whole Dodgers lineup is starting to perform, and that is a dangerous sign for everybody else, because when the Dodgers get hot, they're hard to stop. And for San Diego, it's a tough series to lose. You want to win that series. You want to make a statement, especially after that Game 1. You really want to make that statement about, yeah, we're also here, right? We're still as good as them. But for San Diego, they weren't able to do that. And it leads to a lot of questions for the Padres. Like, did they just get off to a hot start, or are they a really good team? They have a lot of questions going around them as well. Their rotation is really bad, but it's also really hurt right now. They only have really Michael King and Randy Vasquez are your 1 and 2. You see what you get out of Lucas Giolito. You just signed him off the streets out of free agency. Had a pretty good start in his first start of the season against the Seattle Mariners on Sunday night. It was pretty good, right? So you see what you can get out of him. You have Walker Buehler, Griffin Canning, both have had pretty solid starts, but it's not good enough, especially in the National League West when you have a team like the Dodgers. You want someone like a Nick Pivetta back. You're waiting on a Joe Musgrove return. You need more pieces in your rotation to make it better. The Padres still have a great bullpen. They've always had a great bullpen. Mason Miller is having a great season. I mean, there was talks of him being in the NL Cy Young race. We'll get to that a little bit, but he's kind of faded out of it. He's still having a really good season. And the biggest issue, I would say, with the Padres right now is their lineup. Gavin Sheets is producing a very solid season. Same with Miguel Andujar. Outside of that, it's been a little bit of a concern. Manny Machado is, around an 800 OPS, which isn't bad. But again, for a guy like Manny Machado, it should be better. The biggest concern is obviously Fernando Tatis Jr. He is still yet to hit a home run this season. His OPS is under 600. And it's a big concern. And the trade rumors definitely circulate for San Diego around Tatis, no matter what their record is. They've gone from Tatis being in right field. He won a platinum glove in right field, and they moved him to second base in favor of Nick Castellanos for the most part. And now Tatis has been almost a full time second baseman so far this season for the Padres, and it brings up the question again: what is his future in San Diego look like? Will they keep him? Will they move on? It'll be a big question to watch as we get closer to the trade deadline and watch San Diego's record. If do they fall out of the race? Do they stay in there? Right now, they're the first wild card team in the National League. They're in fourth seed overall in the National League, and again, they're only a game and a half back of the Dodgers. So it's not like all hope is lost. They're right there still with the Dodgers, but it's a disappointing series to lose on San Diego's side. Let's go to another big National League series, this one in Chicago. And the Milwaukee Brewers are finding a way to do it again. I did not think they had a chance this season overall. I did not think it would be another, Cinderella run, if you want to call it that. But it seems like, and another teams like this, we'll get to them a little later, the Guardians. But you take away talent, and it seems like the Brewers just find a way to get better when you take away their talent. And now they just went into Wrigley in a 3-game series and swept out the Chicago Cubs. And the Brewers are now the top team in the National League Central. They have over 30 wins. They are third in the National League right now, record-wise. And everything is clicking for Milwaukee right now. You have Kyle Harrison having an incredible season. The Miz is a must-see pitcher every time he's pitching. He's throwing 104. Then he's going to throw a slider at 96 miles an hour. So he has been an incredible watch. Their lineup is still producing. Doesn't matter who is in it, it's going to produce. Luis Rengifo is having a very good season at the plate for Milwaukee. And it's just, again, all coming together for the Brewers. It happens every year. And honestly, at this point, we shouldn't be surprised. This would be their fourth straight playoff appearance. They did make it in 2022, but outside of that, since 2018, they've made it every single year, right? So Milwaukee has just always been consistent, and they've been consistently good, and they just find a way to win. They haven't had the same lineup in any single one of their games this season, and again, they still have 31 wins in their first place in the National League Central. They are trending in the right direction at the right time. I believe it's the time to get hot is right now, especially when you can go into Wrigley and sweep the Cubs. Divisional matchups, like I talked about the Dodgers and Padres, they're so big, especially in this era of baseball right now. They're so important. And now, with a sweep under your belt of your division rival already, and you're ascending in the standings for Milwaukee, it's a question of when are they gonna, how hot are they going to get? I feel like it's the question. Last year, they had their really long run during the middle of July. Again, it's ascended into first place, and then they were able to hold on to that until the end of the season. They had the number 1 seed in the National League. I don't know if they'll get that hot. You have Atlanta, who's playing really good baseball. As I'm recording, they're playing right now. They're on the verge of taking 3 out of 4 against the Marlins, and they've been playing really good baseball all season long. One of their better seasons in a while. You have the Dodgers and Padres who are going to be battling for those top seeds as well. You have teams in their division, the Cubs, the Cardinals. They're also going to be jockeying. But if Milwaukee can hold on, especially that 3 seed is going to be a valuable seed. It'd be even better if they could get the 2 or 1, not have to play the wild card round. But for Milwaukee, I am surprised, but I shouldn't be because they keep doing this. They keep finding ways to win, and it's very impressive. But you look at Chicago right now, and there's a bit of concern over there on the south side. They've had a lot of injuries, a lot of pitching injuries. They're in the trade market looking for another starting pitcher. The main one they were thinking about, Clay Holmes, he's now down for a while. He got hurt in the Mets Subway Series win. You have Justin Steele injured. Edward Cabrera left his start early with a blister, which isn't that big of a concern, but it's still an injury. You have Matthew Boyd is currently down with injury. He should be back towards the end of June. You have Cade Horton, who's out for the season. He had to get elbow surgery. So it's just more and more injuries piling up on the rotation side for the Cubs. Shota Imanaga did not have his best start most recently, and his ERA jumped to over 3.38. You have the bullpen, who has been pretty solid there again, but they're injured. Palencia is just coming back from injury. You have injuries on top of injuries on top of injuries for the Chicago Cubs. And it's a big concern for them because they are slipping. They've lost 5 consecutive games. They're gone from the second best team in the National League to now they're all the way down under at the 5 seed. They jumped up to the 5 seed. They were the 6 seed. They jumped to the 5 seed because of the Cardinals' loss today against Pittsburgh. But it's just a big, big issue for Chicago has been their play recently. Ever since they've had a really good start, now they're playing. They went to Atlanta, right? They went to Atlanta. They played the Braves. They struggled in Atlanta. They went back into Chicago for the Crosstown Classic against the White Sox and lost 2-3, and now they got swept by the Brewers, and it's just a really concerning time. Craig Counsell admitted that they're in a funk, but at the same time, I personally believe they'll be fine. I think they will get out of it. They have the pieces to get out of it. Slumps do happen in baseball. It's better to happen now than in September when it could cost you playoff seeding. So I think for Chicago, it's obviously frustrating there, but they're only a game and a half back of Milwaukee for that number for the top seed in the National League Central. So as much as it is frustrating right now for Chicago, I believe they will be fine. They will be able to turn it around. But not everybody has that same luck. And the San Francisco Giants and Baltimore Orioles had some rough series this weekend. This week, both of them were swept. Both of them were swept in their respective series. The Giants swept by Arizona. Baltimore swept by Tampa Bay. And both of these teams have been very disappointing. I'll start with San Francisco. They hired Tony Vitello as their manager. They played on opening night against the Yankees, and they've never had it on the right foot this season. Logan Webb's currently on the injured list. You have offensive stars not producing. They called up Bryce Eldridge. He's not playing every day. So it's just a really big concern when you talk about what San Francisco has. And they just have to figure it out. And the question is, it would be very disappointing if they are sellers again at the deadline. What does that look like, right? You have Willie Adames. You have all these big contracts, Jung Ho Lee, Matt Chapman, Rafael Devers, the big one that they just got a year ago. You have all these big contracts. What do you do with them? Because you're not contending right now. You're all the way at the bottom of the National League standings. The only team that's worse to you are the Colorado Rockies, and they've been bad for a little bit, right? So if you're the Giants, where do you go from here? It's been consistent since 2021. They have not been able to make the playoffs, and it's been consistently, they've been on the borderline of over 500, under 500, around 500 that whole time. Now this season, they've been really underperforming. Is it a managerial issue? Is it a player performance issue? That's what I believe it is. But it doesn't also help that you have a first-time manager coming in not really knowing what he's doing in Major League Baseball. You could be a great college coach, but it doesn't always translate to the major leagues. And I think the Giants just, they miscalculated what it would look like, a transition would look like from college to the major leagues. First time it's ever happened. It might be the last time it's going to happen for a really long time with the results they've been able to get. I think the Giants are in a really bad position. The National League is a really strong league right now, and it's hard to really make a comeback and get back into playoff positioning in the National League right now. We can talk about the team who swept them, though, the Arizona Diamondbacks. They've been having a very good season. They're 25-23. Ketel Marte with a walk-off home run in this series that had another home run in the series finale. They have been very good this season, and they're 25-23, like I said, but they're still outside of the playoffs in the National League. That's how close the wild card race is right now. And for Arizona, I think the key for them is going to be their starting pitching again. It has always been a question for them. Their pitching in general was their issue last season, the season before. They've always been close to getting back to the postseason after that run to the World Series in 2023. This question for Arizona, where do you make your most improvement? They called up Ryan Walshman. He's actually been playing pretty well at the major league level. Jose Fernandez has been a really big surprise at first base. Vargas has been a big surprise just in general at the plate. You have Arenado, who's having a very good stretch of games right now. Corbin Carroll, who's been playing well. So just all around, Arizona's been playing really well. Just the question is going to be, can they, like I talked about with other teams, can they take that leap back into the playoffs? They're the first team out right now. They're only 2.5 games back. But again, it just seems like the Cardinals and now the Cubs, it was the Brewers. They just keep winning and winning. They haven't been able to stop. So the question is, can Arizona take advantage of when those teams start to falter, start to struggle, and then can Arizona just stay in the race? If they can stay in the race, then they have a chance to get down to that final weekend, and this time actually get back in to the dance. And you never know what happens when you get into the dance. But let's talk about Baltimore, who also got swept this weekend. They lost to the Tampa Bay Rays, and they are just in a really bad position. They have lost a lot of games. They struggled against Washington in the Beltway Classic, and now it's just a question of what's next for the Orioles. It's been another disappointing season. Now it's looking like back-to-back seasons of missing the postseason after making it back-to-back seasons first year manager has not worked out perfectly for them. They have one of the worst records in the American League right now, which is something that is really bad because the American League is struggling as it is. So you look at a team like Baltimore, you look at the pieces they have. Are they sellers at the deadline? Probably. Unless they can make a run. Obviously, they're not fully out of it. They're only 3.5 games back in the American League wildcard picture, but they just have not looked good at all. And the big reason of that has been their pitching, how it's been in the last couple years. Their pitching has not been up to where it should be compared to other teams, and I think that's a big thing that has hurt them over the last couple of years, and it's hurting them again this year. One of the worst rotation ERAs in baseball, and they just have to figure it out if they're going to want to have a chance to make a run. They're right now last in the American League East. So for them, it's just been a really disappointing run, a disappointing stretch, and the question is when are they going to turn it around? And it's going to be interesting to see if they can, or will they end up selling at the deadline. So let's talk about another series that happened this past week. The Reds went into Philadelphia, took 2 out of 3 from the Phillies. Chase Burns is having an incredible season. He pitched very well on Tuesday against the Phillies. Andrew Abbott was able to shut down the Phillies offense on Wednesday. Phillies got a win on Monday, a late inning rally. Bryson Stott with a 2-run home run to give the Phillies the lead in the first game of the series. Again, these are two teams battling for position in the wild card race. You have Cincinnati, who is 2.5 games back. The Phillies are 3.5 games back after coming back. They've won 16 out of their last 22 games since Rob Thompson has been fired. So for both of these teams, it's more of a jockeying in position. They'll see each other later in the season. So right now, Cincinnati with the tiebreaker, it's a big win for them. They're trying to jockey for position. They're tied for last place in their division, even though they're over 500. So for them, it's a big more trying to get back into that wild card picture. They were in for a little bit, then they went back out. It's been very fluctuating for so far this season for Cincinnati. Sal Stewart is having an incredible season. He could be one of the front runners for National League Rookie of the Year. Chase Burns is having an incredible season, like I said. He could be potentially in the race for National League Cy Young. He has a sub-2 ERA so far this season. He's been really hard to touch for opposing teams. So just in general, Cincinnati's had a really good season, something to build off of last season, making the postseason, trying to do that again this season. Back over to the American League now. The Seattle Mariners took 2 out of 3 from the Chicago White Sox this week. Cole Emerson hit his first career home run. They called him up on Sunday, so it was a pretty cool moment in Seattle for them. And then it's just they've been playing much better baseball. They're chasing the A's for the top seed in the division. They're chasing down one of the last wild card spots. Right now they're on the outside looking in, but they're only a game back. They're a team that is very dangerous because they have all the pieces. They were in the ALCS a year ago, a game away from going to the World Series. They have all the pieces to make a run. They haven't been able to put it all together so far. Once they're able to, again, like I said, they're going to be a very dangerous team. But another team that has been really good has been the Chicago White Sox. They had a late comeback on Tuesday to take one game in the series. They've just been really hitting it on all cylinders this season, but we'll talk about them a little later. The Red Sox go into Kansas City. They sweep out the Kansas City Royals in 3 games. It was a big series for them, big bounce back after their series down in Atlanta. They take 4 out of 6 on their most recent stretch of 6 games, so pretty solid for Boston. Again, trying to get a little healthier. Crochet starting to throw a little more. Roman Anthony could be returning sooner than later at the beginning of June. So for Boston to get back into this race would be big. They have a chance to make a run. They're still under 500 since they fired Alex Cora. They haven't had the same success as the Phillies. But again, they're still in this American League wildcard picture because the American League is so weak this season. The Texas Rangers take 2 out of 3 from the Colorado Rockies. Good series win for Texas. Kumar Rocker, I'll give a shout out to him. What a performance in the series finale against the Texas Rangers. 7 2/3 innings pitched. And he's someone who has been a big piece of their rotation, and that's the reason why Texas has found a lot of success this season, has been their rotation. Nate Eovaldi, incredible. Jacob deGrom, incredible. You have Jack Leiter, who's trying to round it into his own shape. And Kumar Rocker has been a really good piece as well now. He had an opener in his start, and he was able to come in after him. 7 2/3, incredible pitching from him. And it's a big reason why the Texas Rangers currently have the last seed in the American League wild card picture. Currently, they are last right in the playoff picture, so they are in, but they are the sixth seed right now. They have a game up on Seattle, game and a half up on Minnesota. So it's really big for Texas to get these series win. They've been playing much better baseball, like I've been saying. So it'll be interesting where they could go from here. The Minnesota Twins, who have been another big surprise this season, like I said, they're only 1.5 games back in the American League wildcard picture. They take 2 out of 3 from the Houston Astros. It's just great as a baseball fan to see Byron Buxton healthy and playing good baseball. He's again an MVP candidate and has a chance to take home the award. When he's healthy, he's one of the best. He's a top 10 player in baseball when healthy. And it's just nice to see him healthy. And Minnesota just putting the pieces together. But they're an interesting team, right? Because they just optioned Royce Lewis to AAA. They have Ryan Jeffers, who just went on the IL. So it's just a big question of who's going to step up, who's going to fill in those roles. You have Luke Keyshaw, who's been playing decent at second. Cody Clemens has been an everyday player now for Minnesota. So it's just interesting to see who's going to fill in some roles for Minnesota over these next couple of weeks, especially with Jeffers' injury, because he's been one of the best catchers in baseball this season. And now he's probably going to be on the shelf until, at best, probably the 4th of July, unless it's really late June. So you're going to have to find a way to win baseball games without one of your best hitters. That's going to be a big task for Minnesota, because as it stands right now, even though they're under 500, they still have a really good shot in this American League wildcard picture. And then Houston, it's just been a season. You don't want to repeat this season. Last season sucked. This season might be even worse. It's a season from hell for Houston. It's just been a really, really rough stretch. They lost Carlos Correa. They just got Jeremy Pena back, but the injuries aren't stopping. Altuve just went on the injured list, right? And it's just they haven't been able to put together good baseball yet. And at this point, it seems like the opportunities are slipping away. They haven't been able to score runs. They're scoring under 3 runs a game, which is one of the worst marks in Major League Baseball. Since Carlos Correa's injury, they just have not been able to do much of anything. And it's just not looking great for Houston. It looks like the dynasty is over. Got to give it time, obviously, but it's just not looking really good for the Houston Astros this season. Let's go down to St. Louis. The Tarps have been off in the crowd all the time. A really cool moment who started in St. Louis against the Royals last Friday. But they weren't able to find success because the Pirates came into St. Louis, took 2 out of 3. Pittsburgh's been playing much better baseball. They got swept by the Phillies this past weekend, but against St. Louis, they were able to take 2 out of 3. Brandon Lau hit another home run today and inside the Parker. He leads all second basemen in home runs, and he's been a player who has been performing at this level throughout all of his seasons in the major leagues. He's someone who is very underrated. He's going to get a nice bag this offseason if he could do it before the lockout. He's a free agent at second base. I wonder if Pittsburgh's going to try to bring it back. If not, another team will definitely love to have him. He's someone who produces at second base. He's able to he hits the ball well. He's a average defender, but the bat really makes up for his defense. As he's someone, again, like I said, you want on your team. You want someone like him hitting in your lineup. He's hitting second in Pittsburgh's lineup. And Pittsburgh's just having a really good season overall. Braxton Ashcraft is having a really good season on the mound. He's becoming a second ace, even though they still have Mitch Keller, who's been a really good pitcher. And obviously you can't forget Paul Skeens, who got lit up by the Phillies in his last start, but he has been pitching well, all things considered, considering he didn't get out of the first inning on opening day, right? So it's going to be interesting what Pittsburgh is able to do. The big question for them is down end of the game closing scenarios. They blew a really big lead against the Phillies, so that's a big question for them. Can they, work on that? Get a high end reliever at the deadline. Bring in some more veteran guys at the deadline. To help bolster their bullpen, right? That's going to be a big thing that they have to do at this deadline and just going forward if they want to have a chance to make the playoffs, because they are only 2.5 back as well. So it'll be big for Pittsburgh. But on the side of St. Louis, obviously something you don't want to see. You don't like losing like this. Michael McGreevy gave up a couple runs in his last start. His ERA has gone up, even though he's had an incredible season, a 2.4 ERA. And it's just another question for St. Louis. Is this sustainable? They've had a great start. This is supposed to be a big rebuild year. Trade away all their big pieces. Is this sustainable for the Redbirds? I don't think so. Jordan Walker's had a pretty good season. Like I've mentioned in the past, J.J. Weatherholt's been great. Alec Burleson's been great. Ivan Herrera's been incredible. But again, is it sustainable? I just really don't think so for St. Louis. But it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do over the next couple of weeks. The New York Mets in a wild series split with the Washington Nationals. And I'll say this, I really do think the Mets are turning the corner on their season. They had a rough stretch to begin the year. Carlos Mendoza somehow survived, and I believe that they've really started to turn the corner. Won the Subway Series this past weekend against the Yankees, and it was just a really good showing out of them. So it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do over these next couple of weeks. Before the deadline, Lindor's supposed to be coming back in June now. Juan Soto has been incredible, like he has been. Bo Bichette's starting to perform. He had a good series down in D.C. And it's a youth movement in New York. You have A.J. Ewing, you have Carson Bench, Nick Morabito, just all coming up and producing now for the Mets. You have also still up Brett Baty, who you can consider part of the youth movement. You have Mark Vientos, who's been solid. You have Noah McLean, who's been one of the best pitchers in the National League this season. So a big youth movement going on in New York, and it'll be interesting if they turn the corner. But another youth movement is in D.C., right? The Nationals have been really good this season. Again, they're only 3.5 games out of a wild card spot in the National League, which is something no one would have thought they would have said at the beginning of the season. James Wood is having another good year, and Foster Griffin has been a big piece of their success in their rotation. So just overall for Washington, no one saw this coming. So it'll be interesting to see if they could keep this up. Again, is it sustainable? I don't think so, but we'll see. Through 50 games, 25-25 is a pretty good record. So we'll see what Washington could do from here. And then the last series we'll talk about, we have the A's and Angels. They're finishing up. So are the Blue Jays and Yankees. That both are finishing up tonight. But another series I want to talk about, the Cleveland Guardians have been very, very hot. They're winners of their last 6 games. And they go into Detroit and sweep the Detroit Tigers. The first series sweep since 2019 in Detroit. And it's been a big success right now of Cleveland against Detroit. You have the Cavaliers beating Detroit, the Pistons, in 7 games in the NBA playoffs, and now you have the Guardians sweeping the Tigers in the MLB season, and it's just been a big stretch of success for Cleveland. They've won 6 straight, like I've said. Parker Bisick has been a big part of that. 2.45 ERA, 10 starts, and he could be the easy front runner for American League Rookie of the Year this season with what he's been able to do. He's become Cleveland's ace, I would say, with his play this season, because Williams and Bybee, their ERAs have been solid, but Bisick has been the best out of the 3. You have Joey Cantillo, who's really been good as well. In 11 starts at 3.05 ERA. He started today in a Cleveland win again against Detroit. You have Colin Holderman, who has a 1.5 ERA in his 13 appearances. Tim Herron has a 1.65 ERA in his 21 appearances. Cade Smith leads Major League Baseball in saves. You have Angel Martinez, Brian Rocchio, Chase DeLauder, Travis Mazzana, all producing offensively. And the most dangerous thing about this Cleveland team, Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez still haven't woken up yet offensively. Both of them are struggling to their career marks, right? So if they're struggling, you add on if these guys can keep up what they're doing, Cleveland's going to be really dangerous. Right now, they're the 2 seed in the American League. They're gaining ground on the White Sox. They just hit 30 wins today. 30-22 is their record. So they've just been playing really, really good baseball recently. And we'll see how long they keep this up. And can Cleveland make a run this year? Can this year finally be the year? They keep coming up short. Can this year finally be the year they get back and win the World Series this time? But it'll be a very interesting thing to see throughout the season. But let's take a look now at the American League wildcard picture because it is very crowded. The Yankees are at the top. The White Sox are right under them. They're a game up on the Rangers, who are a game up on Seattle. Minnesota is a game and a half back. And then Toronto and Boston are 2 games back in the picture. And a lot of those teams are under 500. It's just been a really bad year of baseball in the American League overall. And it's just been something that is really, you have teams like the White Sox, no one thought they were going to be good. The Twins, no one thought they were going to be competing. Almost at Memorial Day weekend in playoff spots or competing for playoff spots. No one really would have saw that coming. You have Toronto, who's been disappointing this season, but again, they've had a lot of injuries. They're starting to turn a corner. You have Seattle, who's starting to turn a corner. They've had a lack of production in their lineup, especially from a guy like Cal Raleigh. He's currently on the injured list. They've started to turn a corner as well. They've played better baseball recently. You have a team like the Boston Red Sox, who've been a major disappointment. Fired Alex Cora. They're playing to start better baseball. Like I said earlier, they swept Kansas City this past week, so they've been playing much better. So it's just been a really interesting American League picture this season. But the team that I didn't mention, the three division leaders right now, you have the Athletics. They play tonight against the Angels. They've been playing really good baseball. JT Jin almost with a no-hitter, and they ended up losing that game, which is so hard to do, as well as they are looking for the series win tonight. They've won the last two in that series against the Angels. You have the Rays, who have been incredible. You have Cleveland, like I just talked about. And let's talk about Tampa Bay. I came on here a couple weeks ago and I said some of this might not be sustainable for Tampa Bay. What they've been able to do in this month of May is they've had the best record in Major League Baseball. They've just continued to play really good baseball. They have the best record in the American League. They lead the Yankees by 4 games, and it's a big matchup this weekend in the Bronx. You have the Yankees and the Rays for the first time in the Bronx this season, a 3-game series. The Tampa Bay Rays swept them this season already. Like I said, they lead them by 4 games in the division. You have Garrett Cole, big for the Yankees. They're getting Cole back, right? Fried was hurt. Now they get Cole back. He's making his season debut on Friday. You have Nick Martinez opposing him on Friday. And I said it wasn't sustainable. He's just gotten better. 1.51 ERA this season. He's sustained his success. And then you also have Drew Rasmussen and Shane McClanahan, who have also been really, really good. A 3-headed monster in Tampa Bay when it comes to their rotation. They're lining up for Saturday and Sunday, so Tampa Bay's bringing their 3 best against the Yankees. They have Ryan Weathers and Will Warren finishing up the series most likely. That's who is expected. But when you look at the Yankees, they haven't really played anybody this season. They've had a cupcake schedule. Obviously, everybody plays everybody. But they're 1-8 against teams over 500. That only game that they won came against the A's, and they have only played 9 games against teams over 500, which is the least amount in Major League Baseball. They've had a good start, but is it just a facade considering who they haven't played yet? They haven't played the best teams, and when they have, they've struggled. Is this a big concern for the Yankees? I think it could be. That you haven't been able to beat anybody of notability. Maybe they are as good as we think they are, which would be a shock to, I think, a lot of teams in the American League. But what the Yankees haven't been able to do is beat anybody. Baseball, you play everybody, but it's easy to get off to a good start when you don't play good teams. But for the Yankees, it'll be interesting if they can keep this up over the next couple of weeks as the schedule gets harder and harder for them. I want to highlight another series going on in the American League this week is the Tigers and the Orioles. And this is a matchup. Both teams have been very underperforming this season. And I would look at this as if either one of these teams gets swept, especially Detroit, if they get swept, this could be a death blow to their season and make them officially sellers at the trade deadline. You look at Detroit, they have more of the pieces to move. Skubal, he threw a bullpen today, about 37 pitches. He felt good. That's what he said. And the question is, let's say he comes back. For how much longer will he be a Detroit Tiger when he gets back? I don't know, right? You see Shohei Ohtani, a report came out a couple of days ago saying that he was almost a Tampa Bay Ray. They almost traded Junior Caminero, Carson Williams to LA for Ohtani back during the 2023 season. But the Angels were idiots. They held on to him, right? And that's a big mistake. They got nothing back for Shohei Ohtani. You see the Detroit Tigers. Turk Skubal's the back-to-back Cy Young Award winner in the American League. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball over these last 2 seasons. they would be idiots to not trade him at the trade deadline if they are out of the picture, which they right now are 10 games under 500. They would be idiots to not trade Tyreek Skubal at the trade deadline. You get a lot of value for him. A team will definitely trade for him. They want a piece who could be their leader in their rotation as you go into October. You have these teams that have been really surprising, who aren't really built. Their rosters aren't built for October. And even the teams that are really, really good, anybody would love a Tarek Skubal in their rotation. And if the Tigers do end up trading him, that would make the most sense as of where they are right now. You don't want to make the mistake. You don't want to get nothing for him. I would be shocked if he stays in Detroit. So the Tigers need to sell high, sell early, and they need to trade Tarek Skubal. But for Baltimore, they have pieces that they could trade too. You have Adley Rutschman, who is a free agent after next season, right? You have Samuel Basayo in Baltimore already. Their catcher in the future. They extended him before they extended Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. So I would make the most sense that they will let Rutschman go or they will trade him. And if they're struggling, there's the teams that need catchers. There's a market for catchers. I could see them moving on from him as well. And you have a guy like Taylor Ward, who's in the last year of his contract. A lot of teams need power righty bats, and a guy like Taylor Ward would be a big addition to some of these teams at the deadline. But for now, this is a big series. Baltimore sweeps, they are in a really good position. Detroit sweeps, it doesn't really do much. But if either one of these teams gets swept, it might be the beginning of the end for them in this season. Now let's go over to the National League and let's look at their Cy Young race. What a race it has been so far this season. And I would say there's one clear favorite in the National League Cy Young race, and he is Christopher Sanchez. What a season he is having. And I would say he's been the best pitcher in baseball this year. A 1.82 ERA, 80 strikeouts in 64 innings pitched. Just had an incredible performance against the Pittsburgh Pirates. A complete game shutout, had 13 strikeouts, his new career high. And he's just been doing incredible things as the new ace of the Philadelphia Phillies. He last year came on the scene when Wheeler went down. He became the Phillies ace, second in National League Cy Young voting. Unanimously, he was unanimously the second best pitcher in the National League. And I think this year it'll be a mistake if anyone but Christopher Sanchez wins the Cy Young. What he's been able to do is incredible on the mound. He has been the best pitcher in baseball. He goes the length. He pitches. He gets outs. He doesn't give up that many runs. You could say players like Ohtani are good. He has had a great season. He doesn't pitch that much. Mizorowski doesn't pitch that much compared to a guy like Christopher Sanchez, who is only about one start ahead of all of these guys, even though they've had the same amount of starts. That's just how many innings he's been able to work. So he's an innings eater, but he's really good at his job, and he gets outs, and he doesn't give up runs. So he has been an incredible ace for the Phillies this season, a team that's needed it. And he's been a big turnaround for them. And I would say he's been the best pitcher in baseball this season. But you also have a guy like Jacob Mizorowski, like I talked about. He has a 1.89 ERA. He has 88 strikeouts in his 57 innings of work. And he's been really, he's continued his success from last year, right? He got into the All-Star game whether he deserved it or not last year. And he's just built off that success. He had a really good postseason, and now he's become Milwaukee's ace, right? And it sucks with Milwaukee. It's just a question of time whether they're going to keep their top guys or not, like a Mizorowski. But what he's been able to do in his just little amount of time has been really incredible and big for Milwaukee. But it would be a mistake to not talk about, right, the guy who a lot of people think is the front runner right now. It's Shohei Ohtani. I personally just don't believe he's pitched enough innings. I mean, he's only pitched 49 innings compared to a guy like Sanchez who has 64, compared to Mizorowski who has 51. He's one start behind Mizorowski technically, and he's two behind Christopher Sanchez when it comes to innings. It's just, when you look at everything, I just don't believe Ohtani deserves it. His ERA is good, but it's easy to have a nice ERA where you're only pitching 5 to 6 innings in each of your starts. Shohei is a great player. He's an incredible talent, and he could definitely win a Cy Young. I just don't think he deserves it this year compared to who he's going up against in the National League. But we got to talk about Paul Skeens. He's been great. He had a sub-2 ERA before his start against the Phillies, where he got rocked. He had his really bad start against the Mets, but besides those two starts, he's been incredible. He's been as advertised for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it's just something you got to watch for him is, are the Pirates going to let him go the rest of the season, right? If they're in contention, will he pitch the whole year? I believe he will. I think the Pirates are a really good team this year, but the question is, can Skeens bounce back after a really bad start. I believe he will. I just don't think he is the best pitcher in the National League. I think the title goes to Christopher Sanchez. But you look at all these other great pitchers. Chris Sale has a 1.89 ERA, and he's just continuing after his Triple Crown winning season in 2024. He's continuing his success. Talked about Chase Burns. He has a 1.83 ERA. He's been incredible for Cincinnati. Kyle Harrison is another great pitcher for Milwaukee this season, a 1.77 ERA. In his starts, he had a great start in Chicago to secure the sweep for the Brewers, excuse me. You have Justin Robleski, who's been great for the Dodgers, a 2.12 ERA, including he had a start where he gave up 7 runs to the Braves, and he almost pitched a complete game, and his ERA is still only a 2.12. You have Bryce Elder, his ERA has gone up a little bit, but still a very respectable 2.01, and you have Clay Holmes, he just got hurt, but he's having a great season before at a 2.39. So the National League race is going to be really, really crowded with really good pitchers. This isn't even including a guy like Zach Wheeler, who just came back and who had a really good start in Pittsburgh, where he had 7 innings. He was, just taking it to Pittsburgh his whole entire outing, right? So you have a lot of guys in the National League who could be in the Cy Young race, and it'll be interesting to see how that pans out during the year. So let's look at the National League playoff picture. Right now, the Braves lead the National League. They have a 9-game lead in their division. They've been the best team in baseball. They took a big blow. Drake Baldwin went on the IL on Tuesday, right? It'll be interesting to see when he comes back for Atlanta. It's always supposed to be a really mild injury. He could be back by the end of next week, which would be a big plus for Atlanta, right? They already have Sean Murphy on the injured list, but they have really, besides that, been able to avoid injuries. They've been playing really, really good baseball, and it's just they're a dangerous team. Like I said in the first episode of this podcast, you have a guy like Michael Harris, you have a guy like Ozzie Albies, so you have Ronald Acuna Jr. He's still there with the Braves, and he's still producing at a high level. You have Matt Olson, Austin Riley is starting to be a much better hitter recently. The rotation is still as good as advertised, so Atlanta's still a dangerous team. The Dodgers are still going to be the Dodgers. Their roster is very, very good still. The Brewers are still going to surprise everybody, like I talked about earlier. San Diego has their issues. They're currently the 4 seed. You have Chicago, who's been struggling there, the 5 seed. And you have St. Louis, who's the 6 seed. On the outside looking in is the most interesting part. Arizona, the Cincinnati Reds, and Pirates are 2.5 out. And the Phillies and Nationals are 3.5 out. The Nationals and Phillies are at 500 right now. And you have Arizona, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh are all over two games over 500. So for all 3 of those teams, they're in much striking distance, like I talked about earlier, for all of them. And for the Phillies, it's going to be really interesting where they go from here. Again, 22 games, 16-6 with Don Mattingly. He's been a spark plug for them. Their offense has woken up to another level, like in 2022 when they made that run to the World Series. And you have Washington. They lost today to the Mets. They split that series. Is it sustainable? Like I said, I don't think so, but it'll be interesting to see if it is for them or not. So we're going to wrap this episode up, episode 3. But before we leave, we're going to look at some big matchups for this weekend in Philadelphia. The Phillies and Guardians have a big 3-game series, interleague series. It's always fun when these 2 teams match up. But for more of that series, I'll have the Phillies Fan Podcast out tomorrow morning, so make sure to listen to that. For a series preview of big series in South Philadelphia, you have the Dodgers and Brewers, a rematch of the 2025 National League Championship Series. You have Justin Robleski on the mound Friday night. You have Yoshinobu Moto on the mound on Sunday. For the Dodgers, the Brewers just took the lead in the division. They're trying to hold on, and it's a big matchup. The 2 versus 3 seed in the National League facing off in a big Memorial Day weekend matchup. And then finally, in the National League, you have the Cardinals and you have the Reds, 2 NL Central rivals, and 2 teams fighting for wild card position. The Reds would have a big weekend this weekend if they could take the series and get closer to St. Louis. St. Louis trying to gain some more ground. And obviously, like I talked about a little earlier, in the American League, Tampa Bay and New York, the biggest series of the weekend. 2 teams over 30 wins, 2 teams in the same division, 2 teams who are primed to be in the postseason at this point. And it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. But that will wrap it up for episode 3 of the Around the Bases podcast. Like I said earlier, the Phillies Fan Podcast will be out tomorrow morning. Look at the Guardian series, recap the last 2 series against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and look at the road ahead for the Phillies. But make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching episode 3 of the Around the Bases podcast. I'm your host, Jay Harper, and I'll see you in the next one.